Alright, so let's talk about one of the coolest mechanics in Hollow Knight Silksong, the Silk Skills. As you explore the massive, interconnected world of Farloom, you'll be picking up all kinds of power-ups, but Silk Skills really stand out. Sure, you can always use your Silk for healing, but when you've got a little extra stored up, that's when the fun begins. Spending it on a flashy Silk skill can turn the tide of battle, whether you need to dish out heavy damage, defend yourself, or just clear a whole crowd of enemies at once. Now here's the thing, there are 6 Silk skills to unlock, and each one has its own unique flair. Some give you range when you don't want to fight up close, others let you counter incoming attacks, and a couple of them are just pure spectacle with massive area of effect damage. They all have pros and cons, and technically it's all about personal preference. But let's be honest, some of these skills just make life in Farloom a whole lot easier. So in this video, we're going to break down each Silk skill and rank them based on how much they actually help you survive the chaos. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. Silk Spear is the very first Silk skill you get your hands on, and at first, it feels pretty exciting. Hornet throws her needle straight ahead with a burst of power, dealing triple the damage of a normal attack. On paper, that sounds amazing. Big damage in one quick strike. But there is a catch. Since the move only goes forward, you cannot aim it, which makes it surprisingly easy to miss. Plus, once you use it, Hornet is left open to attacks coming from other directions, and that vulnerability adds up fast. As you keep playing, Silk Spear starts to feel a little less impressive compared to what comes later. Sure, it packs a punch early on, but Hollow Knight Silksong is full of creative tools, and this one does not exactly keep up with the pace. By the mid-game, you might notice that it is just not giving you the same level of impact or versatility that other skills offer. It becomes one of those abilities you remember fondly as the starter move, but you do not really rely on anymore. And then there is Clawline. Once you unlock this ancestral art, Silk Spear basically gets pushed aside. Clawline also throws the needle forward, but it pulls Hornet straight to the enemy, giving her mobility and closing the gap at the same time. The damage might not be as heavy as Silk Spear's, but the trade-off is absolutely worth it. It keeps you safer, faster, and way more aggressive. By the time you are dashing around with Clawline, Silk Spear feels redundant, almost like training wheels that you eventually outgrow. Threadstorm is one of those Silk skills that feels like a lifesaver the moment you unlock it. Picture this, you are surrounded, enemies are closing in, and you are already low on health. Normally, that is the recipe for yet another death screen, but with Threadstorm, Hornet unleashes a massive burst around her, pushing enemies and even projectiles away. It is the kind of move that makes you feel unstoppable for a moment, and honestly, it is hard not to fall in love with it. What makes Threadstorm so good is its role as a panic button. The instant you feel cornered, you hit it, and suddenly the space around you is clear again. It works on enemies that can be knocked back, which covers a surprising amount of threats in the game, and the fact that it can cancel out projectiles makes it even better. It is the definition of crowd control, and for players who struggle with getting swarmed, it can quickly become one of the most used skills in their arsenal. Of course, there is a trade-off. After activating Threadstorm, Hornet is stuck in place for a short moment, leaving you unable to move. If you mistime it, that pause can be deadly, especially against faster or heavier foes that do not flinch as easily. So while it feels like nothing can touch you, you still need to use it smartly. But when you pull it off at the right time, it is easily one of the most satisfying Silk skills in the entire game. Rune Rage is one of those Silk skills that makes you feel like you just press the Clear the Room button. You unlock it in the slab, and when activated, Hornet calls forth several glowing runes that scatter across the arena. After a short delay, they explode, covering a huge area with damage. Most of the time, those runes lock onto nearby enemies, which means you can wipe out groups in seconds without needing to aim or chase them down yourself. The best part about Rune Rage is how effective it is against crowded rooms. If you walk into a chamber and see way too many enemies buzzing around, this skill practically does the cleanup for you. It is especially handy against airborne enemies, since the runes do not care if the target is on the ground or flying around. You just pop the skill and watch them get surrounded before the explosions hit. It feels flashy, powerful and incredibly satisfying. But it is not flawless. The runes take a second to go off, and that small delay can ruin everything if the enemy is fast or unpredictable. Stronger foes with sporadic movement patterns often slip away before the blast connects, which makes Rune Rage feel inconsistent outside of those packed rooms. It is not the most reliable single-target tool, but when you want chaos and spectacle in equal measure, nothing beats filling the screen with exploding runes. Pale Nails is one of those silk skills that feels simple at first, but quickly proves itself to be way more useful than it looks. When you activate it, 3 sharp nails appear behind Hornet, and the moment you swing her needle, they shoot out in different directions. On paper, it sounds like a small bonus attack, nothing too special, but the real magic kicks in once you see how those nails behave in combat. The key is that the Pale Nails actually home in on the first enemy they encounter. That little bit of tracking makes a massive difference, because suddenly you do not need to worry about precision or timing. You can focus completely on dodging or positioning yourself, while the nails handle the job of tagging enemies for you. It almost feels like a free attack that plays in the background, and in a game as punishing as Hollow Knight's Silksong, that level of convenience cannot be overstated. What makes Pale Nails even better is how versatile it is. Whether you are dealing with enemies that dart around the screen or just trying to add a bit of extra chip damage while you stay safe, this skill has your back. It is not flashy like Rune Rage or devastating like Threadstorm, but it earns its place by being reliable. Sometimes the strongest tool in your kit is not the one that looks the most powerful. It is the one that always works when you need it. Sharp Dart is one of those silk skills that makes you stop and think, okay, this changes everything. Instead of just throwing out another flashy attack, Hornet turns herself into a razor-sharp spike and shoots forward, slicing through enemies while ignoring anything that might normally get in the way. The best part? She is completely invulnerable during the dash, giving you one of the only true moments of safety in the entire game. At first, it might feel tricky to use. The timing takes practice, and if you are used to saving every last bit of silk for healing, spending it on Sharp Dart might seem risky. But once you get comfortable, it starts to click. Suddenly, it is not just a damage tool. It is a defensive option, an emergency escape, and even a way to punish bosses in between dodges. It blurs the line between survival and offense in a way that feels incredibly satisfying. When you combine Sharp Dart with Hornet's already insane mobility, things get wild. She is already quicker and more agile than the Knight ever was, but this skill takes that agility to another level. In boss fights, it becomes a game changer, letting you slip through brutal attack patterns while striking back at the same time. The cost of silk feels more than fair for what you get, making Sharp Dart one of the most versatile and rewarding skills in Hornet's entire arsenal. Cross Stitch is one of the most unique silk skills in Hornet's arsenal, because instead of being purely offensive like most of the others, it flips the script by acting as a counter. With precise timing, you can block an incoming attack and immediately strike back with massive damage. It is not just about hurting the enemy, it is about completely negating damage that would normally chip away at your health. In a game as brutal as Hollow Knight Silksong, that kind of mechanic feels like a blessing. What makes Cross Stitch shine is how it changes the flow of combat. Suddenly, fights are not just about dodging and striking when you see an opening. They become about patience and timing, waiting for the perfect moment to punish your opponent with a devastating counter. Against bosses especially, it feels like a game changer. Those terrifying attacks that would normally drain your health bar can be turned into opportunities to deal heavy damage instead. And that shift in momentum can turn the tide of battle in seconds. And the best part? The risk feels completely worth the reward. Sure, mistiming it can get you punished, but when you land a perfect counter, it is one of the most satisfying feelings the game has to offer. In a way, Cross Stitch adds a whole new layer of depth to Hornet's kit. It is not just another silk skill. It is a mechanic that can make you feel unstoppable if you master it. And honestly, it is the kind of skill that players will want to build their entire playstyle around. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.